Good evening everyone. If you don't know, you should know. My name is Rameez Khan and I'm a filmmaker and a film critic, and I apologize. I apologize sincerely for the inactivity on my channel. I've been working on 2 new segments for you to enjoy, and quite honestly, there haven't been that many good movies that have been interesting me throughout this week and throughout this month, and it was my birthday this month. Nothing good came out. However, instead of seeing Suicide Squad, I decided to go and see Star Trek Beyond, and boy was it worth it. So let's talk about Star Trek Beyond.
Unity is not your strength, it is a weakness.
I think you're underestimating humanity.
Hold on to something! Fire at will! Do it! Do it!
Apart from this being a really good and fun film, the first thing that caught my eye about Star Trek Beyond is that it feels more like a film. This feels more like a movie. Star Trek 1 and Star Trek Into Darkness, directed by J.J. Abrams, felt like a play because of the continuous use of the glide cam, which is not a bad thing. However, this is the first time I can say in full confidence that this is the most cinematic Star Trek film I have seen in the past 10 years. And this doesn't just go for the visual aspect of the film, this also goes for the script of the film as well. This film is not afraid to slow down, which is a good thing. That is a big problem we are seeing in modern age blockbusters directed by studios who don't know what they're doing, and hiring directors who don't know what they're doing, who are hiring writers that don't know what they're doing. Let's talk about Batman v Superman. Yes, we're still going to talk about this. In my movie doctor video, if you didn't see it, I made a point of saying that that film had moments but not scenes, and then the Nerd Writer, one of my favorite YouTubers, recently put out a video on that same exact topic. That film had moments and not scenes. Now, what is a moment? A moment is something special, something big. A movie moment, that's what we're talking about. Movie moments are usually up here at 11. They stand out because they're meant to be memorable. Now, what happens when your whole movie is taking place at 11? Very few movies work out like that. In my opinion, Pain and Gain is a movie that takes place at 11, sort of worked out, and then you have Batman v Superman, where everything is supposed to be epic. Look at Man of Steel. Pa Kent can't die normally. He has to die in a tornado. And when you're watching that sort of 11-ness this whole time, nothing surprises you anymore. Star Trek Beyond is a film that goes from 11 and it goes down to 1, and then it goes back up to 10, and then it goes to 11. You need that to enjoy a film. The film begins really fast in a quaint action scene. However, it morphs into Kirk delivering a voiceover in which he elaborates on his mental state, and he introduces us to the crew of the Enterprise, the Enterprise itself. He tells us what's going on at the Enterprise. It perfectly explains it to newcomers of the franchise and the fans of the franchise as well. But the best part of that introduction is how Kirk is feeling mentally. This film does a really interesting thing with Kirk, is that it portrays him as if he's working a desk job. So within the first 5 minutes, we are given our character's motivation, his personal struggle, and we are introduced to everyone in this movie. And it's done in a really subtle way. Something this whole blockbuster season has been lacking. The word subtlety. And there's more moments in this film which are supposed to be really big, but they're handled in a subtle way, in a calm, cool, and collected way, which makes it realistic. One of them being a beloved character's death, and the other one being a breakup of 2 characters. Now let's talk about the direction of this film. This film was directed by Justin Lin, the man who made his name by breathing life into the Fast and the Furious movies. The Fast and the Furious movies by him were basically made into James Bond movies with muscle cars and drag racing. Now, it's very hard for me to pinpoint if Justin Lin has a style of sorts, and it's very hard to deduce a director's style when you're just watching blockbuster films. The only film I've seen of Justin Lin which wasn't a blockbuster was in film school. His first film, his first feature, called Better Luck Tomorrow. Very good film, check it out. But there are a few things he does carry over from this Fast and the Furious franchise and brings it into the Star Trek franchise. The villain gets a fantastic introduction, and one of the main things he learned from being on the Fast and the Furious series was the action. The action in this film is awesome. You know why it's awesome? Because I know where everything is, location-wise. I keep on saying this. Location is so important when you're doing an action sequence. I need to know where everything is. Justin Lin understands this. Zack Snyder doesn't. Boy, am I hating on Zack Snyder a lot. I was never confused in an action sequence in this film. The only negative, however, of all the action sequences in this film, and this applies to the whole film as well, is the editing. It runs too long. The first action sequence runs about 10 minutes if I'm not mistaken, and if my watch isn't lying to me. And the best part of that action sequence comes at the end when the crew is abandoning the ship. Like a good script, the point of the scene ends the scene. But that could have been accomplished in a shorter scene as well without losing any of its impact. That's what I'm saying. However, Justin Lin does understand the difference between a movie moment and a character moment. This is one of the best shots of the film. Do you know why it is one of the best shots of the film? Because you see Kirk watching the Enterprise fall and collapse. You are seeing him in an over-the-shoulder shot. Now, an over-the-shoulder shot is usually meant to give a dynamic of sorts, to speed up conversation scenes, but when used by a good filmmaker such as Dustin Lin, it puts you with the character. You are almost there. You can almost reach out and tap his shoulder and put your shoulder on top of him, which is precisely what that character needs at that moment. You are watching Kirk and you are feeling with him. You will not see that shot if this was directed by a lesser filmmaker. You know what a lesser filmmaker would do? He would cut straight to the Enterprise falling and crashing and blowing up. Because that's what audiences want today, right? Action, machismo, explosions, that's what we want. We're dumb monkeys who don't like character. That's what producers think of us nowadays, people. Storyline here isn't that complex, but the characters are. However, we gotta talk about the villain, played by Idris Elba, named Kral or Kral. One of the most lamest, boring, and most forgettable villains in recent history. Cliche-ridden motivation to do what he's doing, and doesn't get anything to do, anything cool to do or say in a cool way either. Hell, even Benedict Cumberbatch, when he was playing Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness, got to say cool stuff in overtly cool manners. Even if it was just him saying his name, my name is Khan. That was awesome. It made my hair stand up because I'm a Khan as well. But anyway, let's get back to the film. The best part of this film is that it progresses all its characters in this film and the trilogy. Kirk and Spock are no longer bickering. And they're no longer bickering because they've spent time together. They've become more mature. They see the USS Enterprise missions as work now, whereas they used to see it as adventure. It's the right place to take these characters. This is one of the best films of the year, one of the best summer films of this year, one of the only good summer films of this year. If this came out a few summers earlier, a few years later, I don't think I would have been raving about this so much, but because we've gotten so much crap, that's why Star Trek Beyond is one of the best summer films of the year, to me. And good God, is Chris Pine fantastic in this. He actually gets to act, whereas he was being a model in the first two films. 4 out of 5 for Star Trek Beyond. Again, I apologize for the inactivity on my channel, people. You will be seeing me more, however. But until next time, remember to love yourselves.